At 6:41 a.m. in the Strait of Hormuz, 42 kilometers wide, the narrowest choke point through which a fifth of the world's oil supply moves every single day, a single F-22 Raptor is ghosting through the pre-dawn sky at 31,000 feet. No radar emissions, no radio traffic to every sensor in the region. This aircraft does not exist. If that changes in the next 7 minutes, it will not be the pilot's choice. Below the radar floor, two contacts are moving. Low, fast, silent. They have been airborne for 20 minutes and have not emitted a single detectable signal. No threat code has been assigned. No flag has been raised. They are officially nothing. They are not nothing. Before we dive in, comment where you are watching from and click subscribe. They are two Iranian F-14 Tomcats running an intercept geometry that has been rehearsed, refined, and waited on for a very long time. Every angle is exactly where it needs to be. Every variable has been accounted for, except one. The F-22 pilot does not know they exist. If he cannot survive the next 7 minutes, a fifth of the world's energy supply will move through water that just became a war zone. The people who fill their tanks, heat their homes, and move their goods have no idea that the price of all of it is being decided right now in the dark, above 42 kilometers of contested water. This is the story of 3 minutes that changed every threat assessment in the region. 3 minutes no one was supposed to survive long enough to study. The F-22 Raptor represents the apex of American aerial capability, 4 decades of accumulated engineering ambition made airborne. Its surface coating scatters incoming radar energy into noise rather than returning a readable signal. Its AESA radar, or active electronically scanned array, works like a spotlight that constantly shifts its angle 1,000 times per second, tracking dozens of targets simultaneously while emitting almost nothing an adversary can detect. Its super cruise capability pushes it past Mach 1.5 without the infrared torch of afterburner. Think of it as the difference between a car running at highway speed versus flooring the accelerator and lighting a flare out the window. One is nearly invisible, the other announces exactly where you are. On every published specification, the F-22 ends arguments before they start. The F-14 Tomcats facing it are Cold War relics, airframes that first flew in 1970. He kept operational through decades of international sanctions, spare parts shortages, and institutional engineering improvisation that borders on willful defiance of physics. Iran acquired its fleet before the 1979 revolution and has maintained it without access to American supply chains or technical support for over 40 years. By every published metric, this should not even be a contest. But the crews in those F-14 did not train to win on paper. They trained to win in the specific, ugly, geometry-dependent reality of a surprise engagement at close range. They come in low, aggressively low, surface hugging, riding the radar gap where look-down detection degrades even on modern systems. Offset approach angles, split threat cone, zero emissions. The AWG-9 fire control radar aboard the F-14, a system designed in the 1960s, still formidable in close geometry, stays cold and silent the entire approach. From every sensor perspective, they simply are not there. The F-22 pilot is running his patrol exactly as doctrine demands. Professional, disciplined, textbook. The problem is that two very patient pilots have spent years building an approach specifically around that discipline, around the precise behavioral signatures that American doctrine produces at altitude over contested water. They studied publicly available operational analyses, declassified exercise reports, open source flight profiles. They found the gap between the pages, the specific altitude band, the specific patrol timing, the specific emission window, and they have been waiting quietly at the bottom of the radar picture for exactly this kind of morning. If you look at the geometry of what they built, you will notice that nothing about it is improvised. The approach angle denies the F-22 pilot the look-down detection advantage that makes the Raptor dominant in most engagements. The low altitude exploits the same terrain masking principle a hunter uses when moving below a ridgeline. You cannot track what you cannot separate from the background. The F-14s are the background. They have been the background for 20 minutes. Every second of silence was a choice. Every kilometer of separation was calculated. 6:48 a.m., 2 radar systems snapped to life simultaneously, not searching, not sweeping, already tracking. Both AWG-9 fire control radars are already in lock, already committed to weapon solutions, already talking to missiles that are about to leave the rails. The Raptor's threat warning system detonates across every cockpit display. Not a warning, a verdict. 4 missiles off the rails, launches staggered and timed with the specific logic of someone who has studied defeat. The first missile forces the brake turn, the second exploits the predictable arc that the brake turn produces because physics gives a pilot bending hard at high G very few places to go. The third covers the chaff corridor, the metallic cloud a pilot deploys to seduce radar-guided missiles away from the aircraft, like throwing a handful of mirrors into a room and hoping something follows the reflection. The fourth missile is the insurance policy. No warning, no negotiation, just missiles and math. The Raptor brakes hard, full authority. Near maximum G, chaff erupts in dense metallic clouds. Flares punch out in sequence at burning magnesium against the dark water below. The first missile chases the chaff and finds nothing. The second and third are more persistent. The pilot defeats them the hard way, trading altitude for survival, burning through margins he will not get back. Every second costs sky. The cockpit is total sensory overload, every system screaming simultaneously, the threat warning tones overlapping into a continuous shriek that training conditions you to process but never fully prepares you for at real speed with real missiles, closing from real directions. He is running out of both sky and options. The fourth missile finds him, proximity fuse. The blast catches the left engine nacelle and tail section. Fire warning, flight controls degrading. While the fly-by-wire system are 11 million lines of code managing hundreds of control inputs every second to keep an aerodynamically unstable airframe pointed the right direction, fights furiously against what the damage is trying to do, which is roll the jet inverted and put it into the water. The pilot feels it through the stick. A sick, heavy, uncorrectable pull toward the surface 15,000 feet below. 11 million lines of code against raw physics. The code is losing. The aircraft that was built to be invisible, designed to be untouchable, is now a burning asymmetric wreck and falling. 30 seconds of controlled flight, maybe less. Altitude gone. Recovery impossible. The decision is terrible. It is not difficult. The ace is 2 ejection seat fires. He is clear. Behind him, $150 million of the most advanced fighter aircraft ever built spins uncontrolled and hits the water in a column of fire that lights up the pre-dawn darkness for 20 miles in every direction. 2 F-14s bank toward Iranian airspace, exit profile, fuel numbers nominal, mission complete. They have no reason to check 6. They already won. They are already wrong. 40 miles away, an E-3 Sentry AWACS has had the entire engagement on radar in real time. The Sentry, a modified Boeing 707 carrying a rotating radar dome that provides uninterrupted 360-degree surveillance coverage of an entire theater, is the reason the engagement is not over. Every missile launch was tracked, every evasion maneuver was recorded, the shoot down, the ejection. All of it is on display in front of controllers who have just watched a tactical situation cross every threshold between a regional incident and an act of war. They also have a second F-22 on a patrol track to the north. Full fuel, full loadout, pilot already on frequency, already listening to a picture that is about to become very personal. The redirect order takes 4 seconds. The second Raptor pilot acknowledges. Clipped, professional, controlled. Underneath it, something harder. He goes to Super Cruise immediately. Mach 1.5, no afterburner, nearly no infrared signature against the pre-dawn sky. fast and invisible, and already closing the distance before the F-14s have finished their first egress waypoint. He has heard the full AWACS picture. He knows exactly where they are. He knows exactly what they did. He knows there is a pilot in the water somewhere behind him who wore the same patch and ran the same patrol. Then he does the thing that changes everything. He turns his radar completely off. The Iranian F-14s have experienced crews with sensitive threat receivers and every reason to be scanning carefully right now. A successful ambush means a response is coming. That is not doctrine. That is human nature. They will be parsing every flicker on their warning system, second-guessing every ghost return, watching the frequency bands with the specific anxiety of people who know they have earned a response and cannot predict its shape or timing. He gives them nothing to watch. The AWACS data link feeds him a continuous real-time picture. Both F-14s, their position, altitude, heading, to speed, all of it painted into his display by someone else's sensors 40 miles away. He does not need to emit. He does not need to search. The picture is already there, complete and perfect. He is hunting with someone else's eyes, and they cannot see him at all. Think of it like navigating a dark room using someone else's phone. The light is already on. You just have to move quietly. The F-14 crews settle into their egress profile, climbing, comfortable, the debrief already forming in the lead pilot's mind, the geometry, the timing, the execution, a clean engagement, zero losses on their side, the kind of mission that gets told and retold in briefing rooms for years. Nobody is checking six in any serious way. Serious threats come from ahead of you, not from the empty dark behind a mission that already succeeded. Then something. Not on radar, not on the threat receiver, just instinct, the particular unease of airspace that feels too quiet. The way a room feels different when someone is standing just outside the door. The kind of feeling experienced pilots learn never to dismiss and almost never have time to act on. The lead F-14 begins a slow, almost casual turn, not defensive, not panicked, just a pilot's unconscious need to look at a different piece of sky. He is 2 seconds too late. 6:51 a.m. The second F-22 is already at their 6, already inside their reaction envelope. Both targets clean on the helmet-mounted display, 2 distinct contacts. Less than 2 miles of separation, one of them now beginning a turn that changes absolutely nothing. The geometry closed long before that instinct fired. When the Raptor pilot watches the lead F-14 begin its turn with a cold, professional certainty, the turn does not matter. Aim 1-2, OD AMRAAMs off the rails. The Raptor brakes immediately, shoot and notch, a maneuver that denies the enemy a clean radar return for a counter shot by turning perpendicular to the engagement axis right after firing. Like a sniper stepping behind a wall the instant the round leaves the barrel. Let the missiles run. There is no return engagement. The first F-14's turn tightens for one sharp, desperate second. A pilot's last reflex fighting a physics problem that has no solution. Then the missile arrives and the radar return vanishes. Clean. Instant. The second contact lasts 3 more seconds. A lifetime. Long enough for one final scan of a threat receiver that is still showing nothing. One last second of not understanding what is already done, then it is gone. The Strait of Hormuz falls silent. 3 minutes. That is the total elapsed time from the first Iranian radar lock to the last AMRAAM impact. 3 minutes. The time it takes to pour a coffee, read a headline, decide what to have for breakfast. Unremarkable in almost every other context. Here, above 42 kilometers of dark water, those 3 minutes contain a complete war, an ambush, a shoot-down, a rescue in progress, and a double kill compressed into a window so tight that most of the decision-makers it concerns will not be fully briefed before it is already over. 3 minutes between a routine patrol and an act of war. What decided the outcome was not hardware. The F-14s won the first round because they built perfect geometry in silence and struck before the Raptor could use what it had. Stealth failed not because the coding failed, but because the information did. The enemy already knew where to look. The F-22 won the second round because it had AWACS eyes, a data-linked picture, and the discipline to stay invisible until invisibility stopped mattering. Not better airframe, better architecture, better patience. The platform did not win the fight. The system did. That distinction between individual aircraft capability and networked operational architecture is the most consequential lesson 3 minutes over the Strait of Hormuz produced. It has been theorized in war colleges for decades. It took a pre-dawn engagement over contested water to make it visceral rather than academic. The second Raptor climbs back to altitude, no extended transmission, just a terse report to the AWACS controllers and a return to cruise. Below, 2 fires mark the water where the F-14s came down, burning themselves out slowly in the dark. By sunrise, they will be gone, nothing left but debris fields and an oil sheen that satellite analysts will photograph and argue about for months. One American pilot floats in the dark water somewhere to the south. Beacon active, waiting for the helicopters, already turning to his position. He is alive. He ejected clean. He will be recovered, but he will spend the rest of his career carrying the memory of a cockpit full of warning tones and a stick that stopped responding. The memory of the moment the most advanced fighter in the world was not advanced enough, because the information failed before the aircraft did. That is the real cost of those 3 minutes, not the hardware, not the $150 million on the bottom of the Hormuz. The lesson, the uncomfortable, undeniable lesson that no stealth coding, no AESA radar, no 5th generation anything can substitute for knowing where the threat is before it pulls the trigger. The tankers are still moving through the strait, indifferent, carrying their cargo to ports that have no idea what just happened in the airspace above them, the world's oil supply flowing as if nothing occurred, as if 3 minutes did not just redraw every threat assessment in the region. But in the operations centers, the command posts, the situation rooms on both sides of this equation, nothing is quiet. Every screen is lit, every phone is active, every commander who matters is being woken up and handed a picture that nobody is fully prepared to respond to because a response is coming. It has to come. The political logic of the region, the alliance obligations, the domestic pressures on both sides, all of it is pointing in one direction. The question is not whether the next move happens. The question is what shape it takes, how large it gets, and whether anyone in any of those lit-up situation rooms has the clarity and the authority to keep 3 minutes from becoming 30 years. The Strait of Hormuz is 42 kilometers wide. It has always been exactly that wide, and it has never felt smaller.